They were once each other's forever. Claire knew better than to trust the kind of love that burns too fast, but when she met Ethan Morgan, she forgot every warning. His voice was gravity. His presence, wildfire. They spent one unforgettable year building a world of shared secrets, laughter, and dreams stitched together in coffee shops, rooftops, and hotel rooms they couldn't afford. Then one morning, he vanished. No note. No call. Just silence. 4 years later, Claire is a rising star in Manhattan's publishing world, fierce, guarded, and utterly done with romantic illusions. But fate has crueler plans. When Ethan resurfaces as the new CEO of the media conglomerate that just acquired her company, Claire is forced to confront the past she buried and the man who broke her. What she doesn't know is that Ethan's disappearance wasn't abandonment. It was survival. And now he's back with a secret that could burn down everything. Chapter 1, The Return. Claire Monroe didn't believe in omens until the elevator stopped on the 13th floor. The doors opened with a hydraulic sigh, revealing a man she thought she'd never see again. Her heart didn't race. It plummeted. Ethan Morgan. 4 years hadn't aged him. If anything, time had honed him, sculpted him into something sharper, colder. His dark hair was shorter now, swept back with businesslike precision, but those same silver-flecked eyes scanned the elevator like a battlefield. And then he saw her. His gaze caught hers like a hook in water. Claire's body went rigid, her brain screaming to look away, to pretend she didn't recognize him. But it was too late. He stepped in. The doors slid shut. Silence. Dense and suffocating. Claire forced herself to speak first. "You've got to be kidding me." Ethan's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Hi, Claire." She pressed the button for the lobby, even though she'd been headed to the 20th floor. He chuckled softly. "Running already?" "I have no interest in reliving my nightmares," she said, her voice steely. "Especially not in business casual." Ethan didn't reply. He didn't need to. His eyes were doing all the speaking, searching her face, memorizing it all over again. The elevator stopped at the lobby. Claire stepped out. "Welcome back to Manhattan, Mr. Morgan. Try not to ruin any more lives this time." An hour later, Claire was in a glass conference room, seated across from Ethan, who now wore the title of CEO of Greystone Media Group. Her publisher Langley Fox had just been swallowed whole by his empire. "This is a hostile takeover," she muttered to her colleague Marissa, who gripped her coffee like a life preserver. Ethan tapped a pen against the table. "Let's begin." He went through the motions: restructuring, content strategy, executive realignment. Claire didn't listen. Her ears were buzzing. The man who had ghosted her, erased her, was now her professional superior. She wasn't sure whether to laugh or scream. When the meeting ended, Ethan asked her to stay back. Just her. She didn't move. 5 minutes, he said softly. Claire turned to Marissa. "I'll meet you downstairs." The door clicked shut. Ethan leaned back, his expression unreadable. "I didn't know you worked here until yesterday." "Congratulations. Now you own my publisher and my past." He looked pained. "Claire, I didn't leave because I wanted to." "No," she snapped. "You don't get to speak my name like it means something. Not after disappearing without a word." He flinched. Good, she thought. I deserved an explanation. I waited. I panicked. "I thought you were dead, Ethan." "I wanted to call," he said, barely above a whisper. "But you didn't." There was a beat of silence. Then, finally, he said, "My father gave me 36 hours to disappear or be destroyed. I chose to protect you." Claire blinked. "What?" Ethan's jaw clenched. It's complicated. But I didn't walk away because I stopped loving you. I walked away because my world was about to collapse, and if you were near it, it would have taken you down too. Claire stared at him. The man who'd ruined her wasn't heartless. He was broken. Still, it didn't make it okay. You should have trusted me, she said coldly. But instead, you made a decision for me. That's not love. That's control. Ethan nodded. You're right. There it was. No excuses. Just regret. Claire turned to leave. He called out. I'm not here to disrupt your life. She paused at the door. Then stay out of it. That night, Claire sat on her apartment balcony, the New York skyline glittering in the distance like a lie dressed in lights. Her phone buzzed. A blocked number. She hesitated. Then answered. You should block me, Ethan said on the line. Then stop calling. I needed to hear your voice. Claire closed her eyes. You lost that right. And yet she didn't hang up. He said nothing, just breathed on the other end like he was afraid this would be the last time. I thought about you every day, he whispered. Claire's voice cracked. Then why didn't you come back? Silence. Then, because the secret I kept to protect you still has teeth. She ended the call. The next morning, Claire walked into the office and found a sealed envelope on her desk. No name. No markings. Just her initials. Inside was a photo. Grainy. Paparazzi style. Ethan. With a woman. Holding hands in what looked like a hospital hallway. Claire's stomach flipped. On the back, scribbled in red ink, he wasn't gone. He was starting over. And then beneath it, she died 3 weeks ago. The ink bled at the edges. Claire stared at it, trying to breathe. The woman in the photo had long, dark hair. Petite frame. Pretty. But the timestamp on the bottom corner said, January 3rd. 2 years ago. Claire did the math. Ethan had left 4 years ago. Which meant for 2 years after abandoning her, he'd been with someone else. The room spun. Her thoughts shattered. That night, Claire stood outside Ethan's penthouse. Her fist pounded the door before she could think. He opened it, barefoot, stunned. You said you left to protect me, she said, voice trembling. I did. Then who the hell is she? Claire held up the photo. Ethan went pale. Claire, don't lie to me. His lips parted, but nothing came out. Claire shoved the photo into his chest. You weren't surviving. You were replacing me. And then she turned and walked away, leaving him speechless, broken, and alone at the door. But as she reached the elevator, Ethan called out. Wait. She stopped. There's something you don't know. She turned, arms crossed. What? His eyes glistened. She was my sister. And that hospital hallway. He swallowed hard. That was hospice. Claire's heart lurched. What? She had late-stage lymphoma. I couldn't tell anyone, not even you, because my father was trying to leverage her illness to keep me in the family business. I staged a disappearance, went underground, and spent 2 years hiding us both from him. Claire couldn't breathe. She died 3 weeks ago, he said, voice cracking. And the day after, I came back. For you. Claire didn't cry. Not when Ethan told her the woman in the photograph was his sister. Not when he explained how his billionaire father had threatened to cut off her treatment if Ethan didn't sever ties with everyone including Claire. Not when he stood in front of her, voice ragged, saying, You were the only thing I thought about while holding her hand through chemotherapy. She didn't cry. She wanted to scream instead. But in the days that followed, Claire found herself walking a tightrope between fury and longing. Part of her ached to believe him, to wrap the truth around her like a blanket and fall into the past they never got to finish. But another part, the part forged in the fire of his disappearance, wasn't ready to let go of the pain. Not yet. 3 days later, Langley Fox's editorial floor had turned cold since the acquisition. Familiar desks were being cleared. Departments were merging. And whispers followed Claire everywhere she walked. Ethan had made it clear that she would retain her position as senior editor, but everyone else assumed the favoritism was personal. Claire's spine straightened as she passed them. Let them whisper, she thought. She'd survived worse. Then her phone buzzed. Ethan, dinner tonight. Just you and me. No pressure. She stared at the message. Then replied, 1 drink. That's it. The hotel bar, 8:07 p.m. It was the same place they'd first said, I love you. Dimly lit, tucked into the corner of the Whitmore Hotel, where the city noise felt miles away. Ethan was already seated, 2 drinks waiting. You remembered, Claire said, sitting opposite him. He smiled faintly. Every detail. They talked. Slowly. Cautiously. Like people testing the strength of a bridge long since burned. He told her about the company he'd built in Europe, the legal battle with his father, and the silence that had cost him everything. She listened, eyes steady but heart bruised. I used to dream about running into you, she finally admitted. I'd play it out in my head. What I'd say. What I'd do. Did I ever deserve forgiveness in those versions? No, she said. But I gave it anyway. They sat in silence. Then Ethan reached into his jacket and placed a leather notebook on the table. Claire recognized it instantly. Her old writing journal. I found this in my loft. You left it there the night we said goodbye. I couldn't open it. I didn't want to read what you might have written about me. She flipped it open, heart pounding. Most pages were empty except one. In shaky handwriting, I still believe in him. God help me. Her throat tightened. I never stopped loving you, Claire, Ethan said. Even in the silence. Especially in the silence. She didn't respond. Couldn't. So he said, come upstairs. Just to talk. I'll tell you everything. No more omissions. No more secrets. Claire hesitated. Then nodded. Ethan's penthouse, 9:41 p.m. It was minimalist, sterile almost, like a man who hadn't expected to host anyone. They sat on opposite ends of the couch. He poured wine, but neither drank. I need to ask you something, she said, staring at him. Anything. Claire pulled out the photo again, the one someone had anonymously left on her desk. Who gave this to me? Ethan blinked. I don't know. Someone wanted me to think you moved on. That you were living a double life. His brows furrowed. You think someone's targeting us? I don't think. She stood, tense. I know. Ethan stood too. Claire, I swear, the doorbell rang. He frowned. Stay here. She followed anyway. He opened the door. Standing there, in a blood-red coat and heels that could kill, was a woman Claire hadn't seen in years. Avery Langley. Heiress. Publishing royalty. And Ethan's former fiancé. Claire froze. Avery smiled sweetly. Hello, darling. Oh, Claire. Didn't expect you here. Claire stepped back like she'd been slapped. Fiancé. Ethan groaned. No. Ex-fiancé. Avery waltzed in without permission. Funny. Because the last time I checked, your name's still on our engagement trust. Claire's heart stopped. Is that true? Ethan looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 seconds. It was arranged before everything, he said. Before you and I met. It wasn't real. Wasn't real? Avery's voice was saccharine. That's funny. Because your father still thinks we're the golden couple of the East Coast. Claire backed away. Wait, she said slowly. Is that how you got control of Greystone? Through her. Ethan froze. The answer was in his silence. Claire's stomach turned. You said you fought your father. That you broke away. I did, he whispered. But you used her to do it. I had no choice, you always have a choice. Claire turned to Avery. And you left that photo on my desk. Of course I did. He deserves ruin. And you? She gave Claire a once-over. You're just collateral. Claire didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just walked out the door. Ethan followed, calling her name, begging, but she didn't stop until she was in the elevator, her finger pressed to the lobby button like it could save her. 2 hours later, Claire's apartment, she sat on her kitchen floor. Journal in her lap. Wine glass full, untouched. How stupid she'd been. Believing that love was enough. That the truth was straightforward. She opened the journal again, flipping through the empty pages. Then she saw it. A recent entry. In Ethan's handwriting. If she ever finds this, know that I gave up everything for her. Even my freedom. Even my pride. I played the villain to dismantle the empire. I let them believe I was in love with Avery. And I lost Claire to save her from the wreckage. I hope one day, she'll understand that I never stopped choosing her. Even when I couldn't say it out loud. Claire's breath hitched. It wasn't just a lie. It was a sacrifice. And she hadn't seen it coming. Chapter 3. The name that still hurts. It had been 7 days since Claire had walked out of Ethan's penthouse. 7 days since she'd learned that the man she once loved had aligned himself with a woman who wanted to destroy her. 7 days since she'd read his confession in her journal. And yet she hadn't called. Hadn't answered his messages. Hadn't shown up at work. She needed time, not to decide if she still loved him, but to decide if she could ever trust herself again. Friday, 11:04 a.m. Langley Fox. Claire stepped off the elevator for the first time all week. The office was buzzing. Marissa ran over, her expression frantic. You're here. Good morning, Claire said, almost like nothing had happened. Marissa blinked. You didn't hear. Hear what? Greystone just announced Ethan's stepping down. Effective immediately. Claire's heart dropped. What? Yeah, Marissa whispered. He called a press conference this morning. Walked out of the boardroom like he was resigning from oxygen. Claire turned without another word. Midtown Greystone HQ, 11:41 a.m. She pushed through the revolving doors, headed straight for the 42nd floor. The receptionist looked startled but didn't stop her. Everyone knew her face now. She stormed down the hall, heels echoing like gunshots. The corner office was empty. Ethan wasn't there. Just a note. Taped to the window. Claire, I was never going to win this world by playing clean. But I couldn't ask you to stand beside a man who lied just to make things right. So I gave it all back. The company. The inheritance. The name. Everything except you. But I know I don't get to keep you either. I'll be gone by midnight. If there's anything left between us, you'll know where to find me. Claire's chest tightened. He wasn't just resigning. He was leaving Manhattan. Maybe for good. The rooftop Whitmore Hotel 11:58 p.m. Claire stood at the edge of the same rooftop where they'd shared their first kiss. The skyline was quiet. The stars, for once, weren't drowned out by the city. A soft voice cut through the stillness. I wasn't sure you'd come. She turned. Ethan was standing there. No suit. No watch. No armor. Just him. I almost didn't, she admitted. I wanted to hate you longer. He half smiled. You had every reason to. She stepped closer. Why didn't you fight for the company? I did, he said. But it was never about the empire. It was about the damage it caused. My father traded people like pawns. My sister. You. Even me. Claire's voice cracked. And Avery. I never touched her, he said firmly. We signed a fake engagement to appease investors while I pulled apart my father's empire from the inside. She was the cost of the con. Claire shook her head. She didn't seem fake. She fell in love with the idea of me. I let her. That was my mistake. A gust of wind blew between them. Claire searched his face. Why now? Because I needed to burn it all down before I asked for forgiveness. She stepped forward again. And what are you asking now? Ethan took a slow breath. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm not even asking you to forgive. He looked directly into her eyes. I'm asking if there's still a future where I can say your name without it hurting you. Claire's eyes welled up. She looked at the man who had destroyed her. Saved her. Loved her. And lost everything for her. Then, quietly, she said, say it. His voice broke on the edge of her name. Claire. It wasn't loud. It wasn't poetic. It was raw. Fragile. Human. She stepped into his arms like a tide returning home. And for the first time in 4 years, she didn't run. 1 month later Claire walked into Langley Fox, now restructured under new ownership. She'd kept her job. But she'd rewritten her contract to work remotely part of the time. Because she had somewhere else to be. On a vineyard in Northern California, where Ethan had started over not as a CEO, but as a writer. He was writing their story. But this time, he wasn't writing the ending. She was. Some loves aren't meant to last a lifetime. But some are meant to survive it.